Hello everyone, bit of a different video today. I thought I'd go back through my old racing books and try and remember how I did the form as a youngster. So this video is going to feature a few of the different methods and strategies I used from a long time ago, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. Okay, I've got the paper on the floor here pretty much because I didn't know the best way of doing this, but this is how I used to pick the horses back when I was in primary school. So what I would do is I would number each of the horses in the race. Say there's 5 horses in the race. I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'd go on the internet and find every single tipping site possible. And from there, I would, for the top selection that a particular person has, I would mark them 3 points. Say number 1 was on top. And then their second selection, I'd have at 2 points. So rather than 3, 2, 1 for first, second, and third, that means no matter how many people pick a particular horse on top, say Winks, we'll get onto this a bit later, but when I convert those into, probabilities of winning, it can never be more than 50% or less than $2. So that's why I only took down the first and second selection. So I do that all for a race, and say I think I had about 10 people to go off. So there'd be in total 3 points to first, 2 points to second. There'd be 50 points in total out of 10, because 10 times 5 is 50. And let's say number 1 had 20 points, 2 had, 10, 3 had 5, and then 10 and 5 again. Out of all those numbers, I would then divide 50 by how many points a horse got for my price, for example. So let's say 50 divided by 5 is 10, 50 divided by 10 is 5, and then 10, 5, and what's 50 divided by 20? Is it 2.5? $2.50. So that's how I'd come up with my prices. And again, I wasn't betting at all. I was in primary school. I just really loved the sport and wanted to pick winners. So what I would do after each race, I would outline top selection and then value. I would write top selection and value. So the horse with the most amount of points would go in the top selection, so that'd be horse 1. And then I would get the real prices of the horses and list them here, and then convert those the win probabilities, combine them against each other to get my biggest overlay or value. And I'd write that value selection in here, the biggest difference in win probabilities. So that's how I used to do it back in primary school. And if number 1 was a top selection here and number 1 was the biggest overlay in terms of how I used to do the form, then that'd be one of the ones I was most confident on for the day. So that's how I used to do it back when I was really young. So this was my first ever racing notebook that I got and was able to write my racing notes in, and this is how I used to do the form back in 2019 on Memsie Stakes Day and in this era. So this is how I did it. There's my finger. So next to the horse saddlecloth number, I'd have the best bets comment, and just above the best bets comment would be the class of race it ran in. So for example, number 1 has inconclusive in an open handicap. Then the T is track. So if they had done anything at the track, they get a tick, and then maybe good but not bad would be a question mark, I'm pretty sure, and never run at the track or gone really bad on it would be an X. Next to the T is the D for distance, so similar process there. Next to the D is the TC, which is track condition, and then next to that is the W, which is the weight rise or weight drop. So I'm going to go through and see how I went on this day. The first race, I had Naval Warfare. It ran 4th, paying $5. Number 4 won. So if you can see my writing, looks like number 4 had some good track condition form. In race 2, I've circled 2 horses, Mastering and Gododin. How did they go? Mastering 9th and Gododin 7th. All right, so I've had a terrific start to this card, and then the other 2, Rubon Blur was scratched and Diamond Effort ran 5th. The winner, number 12, Dawn Dawn. I can't even read that, but it looks like it's good at the distance and track condition, so I've overlooked that one a bit. Then in race 3, looks like I've gone for Special Diva, who is scratched actually, so I'm not sure who I would have replaced it with. I can't remember, but the winner was the favourite in my pendant. Very good chase last start in the mare's 84. It was down 5 kilos. I probably would have tipped that horse, judging off my notes, but I'm not too sure. Then we move on to the listed Heatherly handicap, and I had Steel Prince, Captain Cook, and also Twilight Run circled. Ended up going for Twilight Run, who at $15 ran 7th. What's its notes? It was too good last start in a fillies and mares race, good track and distance form. The winner, number 13, Super Titus. It was a sound return in a handicap and fitter for that run. So far, we don't know the results of race 3, so I'm 3 races down for absolutely nothing. Captain Cook runs 2nd, so I guess I'm all right there. Then we move to race 5, the McNeil Stakes. And I had Super Seth. It did end up winning. I remember having Super Seth this day. Good first up form, good form at the track, good form at the distance, good form at the track condition. So I can see why I tipped Super Seth. Then in the Heath, it was won by Crystal Dreamer. I remember it paid a big price. It was number 7. Decent first up record, very good on the track condition, and it was pretty good on the track and distance as well. I could have easily had that horse, but I went with Vega Magic, who was the $2.10 favourite, number 4. It also had some very good form and did nothing. Then we move on to the Cochrane Stakes, 1200 metre Group 3. I had Pippi. It ended up winning at $2.05, number 13. It was ultra impressive last start in a 78, and it ended up being a Group 1 winner. So I was on the money there. Then we move on to the Memsey. Who did I have? I was with Elise. I remember being with Elise in this Group 1. It was the favourite. Just got too far back from memory. Scales of Justice. Last start it was wide. I can't tell what race it ran in from this angle, but it says wide there. Very good at the track condition. Never seen Caulfield before. So what's that? 2 winners from about 7 races. I think I didn't have room to write race 9, so I've just got a little piece of paper there. I'll open it and see how I went. Looks like I had Iconoclasm, and it ran 3rd, beaten a half a length. The winner was the favourite, number 18, Age of Chivalry, who controlled the race last start in a benchmark 84. So 2 winners out of 8 on the card. Then we move on to 2020, which is how I did the form. Similar over on the left-hand column to what I did last time, but I watched the replays back of every horse that ran and marked down whether they were suited or not by the race pressure, got their closing sectionals and how it ranked for the particular day, how many horses out of the last start had won, and then days or weeks between runs and the weight drop. So in this first race on CF4 day, I went for No Commitment. It runs 4th. The winner was horse number 6. And then in race 2, ended up going with How Romantic, horse 2, and ended up getting the job done, which is good, controlled the race. In race 3, the Blue Diamond Prelude for the fillies, I went with number 4, Fresh, and number 8, Let's Be Glam, got the win, led all the way in a maiden and was suited. Then in race 4, the Colts and Geldings version, I went with Hanseatic, and it got the job done, number 1, which is good. We'll head to wherever race number 5 went. Oh, it's still down here. I can't see very well. Anyway, Microphone, I tipped and it got the job done. So at the moment, I'm 3 from 5, which is good. In race 6, I've gone for All Too Royal in the Rubiton Stakes. It runs 3rd, beaten by horse number 10, Anna Heed, who was first up that day. In race 7, I've gone for Miss Siska in the Carline Cup. It's got the job done, horse number 10. In race 8, the Group 1 CF4, I've gone for Be Good to Your Mother and Scales of Justice. And Alabama Express, number 12, got the win here. I remember being surprised by that on that day. And then race 9, I sort of half gave up because it took me so long to do the first 8 races. But horse number 9 won, Sylvia's Mother, and my tip for Delia ran 8th. So that was CF4 day. All right, I won't go on to the results for the following meetings, but this is every time I change something up. So I turned into a point system for Bendigo Guineas Day. If you really want to know how I went, I'll just give you all those selections for all those races and you can go back to see how I did. However, it was a point system. I can't remember what went into it. It was probably trainer ability, jockey ability, and everything like that, but I didn't write it down. So that's how I did the form at the midpoint of 2020 when lockdown first hit. This was only 3 months later. I've no idea what I'm doing here, it looks like. That's either length beaten or length won by. That's the class of race the horse ran in. Not sure what this figure is. I've forgotten what it is, and this is whether it was suited last start or not. I think didn't means it didn't suit the horse. So again, I won't go through the results, but there's the tips if you want to go back to this particular day and check how I went, if you can read that. Skip forward to 2021, and I looked for the past 3 years running of a particular race on a particular day to get my selections. So I'd have the horses that won it in previous years, stage of prep, distance run out, so that's 1600, 1600, 1700, for example, what position they settled in, how much weight they carried, what start they were at, and what price they were. Again, won't go through the results, but if you want to have a look back at 2021 PB Lawrence Day and see how this particular way of doing the form worked for me, then you can go back and check that based off those selections. Well, yeah, everyone, that's about it. Stopped at 2021. I've been following a similar method for 3 or 4 years now to what I'm doing at the moment, so that's working for me. If you want to do the form any of my ways, the easiest one is probably the first one that I did, where I got all the different internet articles up about tips and then just note down who everyone tipped and then find an overlay and a top selection and all that. But if you've got your own method, then stick to that, because none of these ended up working for me. So thanks everyone again for watching. Until next video, bye for now.